I'm alive because
I'm alive because
I'm alive.
I have my 5 awesome kids.
I'm alive.
I'm still alive today because I heard your podcast.
Hi friends, welcome to another mini Monday episode of the I'm Alive Because podcast. I'm your host Sarah, and today I'm going to tell you all about another DBT skill that I love, and that is called fact checking. I learned this skill about a year ago in an outpatient DBT program that I was enrolled in Portland, and I found it to be really, really helpful for emotional regulation. It's a skill that is built into the emotional regulation chapters in the DBT manual. If any of you are interested, that was created by Marsha Linehan. You can purchase it on Amazon. Essentially, it's just this giant manual of all of these chapters with skills built into them on how to live a better quality of life, have more success in your relationships, kind of manage your interpersonal relationships, really just be a more skillful person where your mental health is concerned. Highly recommend it, regardless of if you do or don't have a mental health diagnosis. I think that anybody could benefit from having a baseline understanding of how to use these skills. But today we're going to talk about fact checking. So there's a few steps when you check the facts. The first is you have to apply this skill where you're in a situation that you have some sort of emotional reaction to. I wouldn't recommend trying to apply this skill to a situation where you're highly emotional charged. I would recommend kind of practicing this in really low level situations where you're emotionally charged. Maybe your dog had an accident or something like that. I wouldn't just go ahead and apply this to, a severe argument with your partner or something. I think that most mental health skills, in fact, I know most mental health skills are best used in those high crisis situations or highly emotional charged situations when you've had a chance to practice them near your baseline, because you just kind of know what to expect and you can use them more successfully, and they'll be more automatic than if you're kind of trying to wade through in those really hard times. So you've found yourself in this situation that is emotionally charged in some way. The first step in fact checking is to name that emotion. So what emotion is coming up for you as related to whatever situation you're in. And then the second step, once you've identified both the situation and the emotion that you're feeling as related to the situation, is to say, okay, what happened in this situation that caused me to feel this thing? I have maybe an argument with my wife because she forgot to, do the dishes, right? And the emotion that comes up for me is resentment. And resentment prompts some anger. Remember, anger is most often a secondary emotion to some other emotion that we felt as a result of a situation. So this is the example we're going to work through. Tori forgets to do the dishes, even though I asked her to multiple times. That's the situation. The feeling that I've got is resentment. That's also causing some anger. Maybe that's making me want to raise my voice or, slam a door or something. So the next step would be to ask myself, does the emotion that I'm feeling warrant the situation? This is kind of where the fact checking comes in, right? So you want to point out the facts. Let's just go back to our scenario. Probably in this scenario with Tori, she forgot to do the dishes because she was working overtime and there was a lot going on at work. And when she got home, the dogs needed her, and we were engaged in some other conversation that took up her energy and time. And then she was really tired and she went to bed. The fact of that would be, okay, I acknowledge that there was a lot going on and my wife forgot to do the dishes. Does this high level of frustration, resentment, and anger fit that situation? Most often, I find myself saying, okay, this automatic emotional response is not consistent with what actually happened. That's where the fact checking comes in. Okay, Sarah, your feeling is valid and it's not appropriate. You've checked the facts and you know that. So now what are you going to do to kind of reconcile that? That's where you would build in some self-soothing strategies, some self-care strategies, some other emotional regulation strategies, maybe meditation, maybe taking an adult timeout and walking away from the situation and then coming back to it. Maybe you practice opposite action, which we can talk about another day, but essentially just doing the opposite of what you want to do. So maybe in that situation, I would do the dishes even though I don't want to, right? Build in those self-care strategies to appropriately handle the situation. Now, you could have found yourself in a more highly charged situation where it is true that your emotion fits the facts. So maybe there is some other kind of situation and you feel really sad, angry, betrayed, whatever the thing is, right? And you've stopped and you've checked the facts and you've said, okay, actually, no, my emotional response to this thing is true. Like, this is an appropriate level of sadness for whatever just happened to me. So you take a different path and you say, okay, I've recognized that this thing that happened to me is awful. I've recognized that I've had this emotion as related to this awful thing. Now, I get to choose what my behavior looks like in this moment. Is my behavior consistent with my values? That can be a really difficult place to be because I know for me, oftentimes my behavior just isn't consistent with my values because I didn't build in those self-care strategies and I was just leading with this automatic emotional response because maybe I forgot to check the facts, or maybe I did check the facts and I did find that, yeah, no, actually, Sarah, it is okay that you feel this level of feeling, but it's not okay that you responded in this way. And so that's when we really, really have to build in those strategies to take care of ourselves so that we can better handle the extreme level of sadness or frustration or whatever the emotion is. I hope that makes sense. I would recommend that you all kind of do some research about what fact checking is. You could literally Google DBT skill check the facts, and you would find like several step-by-step worksheets that you could apply to whatever situation that you're feeling. Again, I would recommend that you practice this on a lower level situation, just like my wife forgot to do the dishes thing that came up. I wouldn't kind of take this and apply it directly to whatever crisis may be coming up for you and your family, because it will just be much harder to try to start to learn and apply this skill then. But I found fact checking to be super helpful in my relationships and the way that I behave in my relationships. So I hope that you all take this, apply this, and see if the way that you've been feeling is consistent with what you think you should feel. And if it is, what's your behavior look like afterwards? Is it consistent with your values, right? Because I know that for me, I wake up every day and I want to behave and relate to the world in a way that is consistent with my strong values.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I so enjoy sharing these stories with you and being a part of all of us talking about recovery. It's such a gift that people come and talk to me, whether in person or by Skype, and allow me to share with you their journey with mental health and the way that it's impacted them. The work that you're all doing with us is helping to reduce stigma and normalize mental health struggles, and that truly means the world to me. If you would like, you can follow our podcasting journey as well as some of the other things that we're up to on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook at A Brand for the Broken. Those links are all included in the show notes as well, so you can see that there. As always, I would love if you would rate, review, and subscribe to our show. Your continued support through telling your friends and family about the podcast is so important because it helps us share the stories and ultimately keep people living. It also helps us to find guests who might be interested in sharing their story. If that might be you, please reach out to us and I will get back to you as soon as I am able. You can send us a message through any of our social medias or at stayaliveinc.org. Okay, friends, thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to share our next episode.